We're here on a Friday afternoon in front of the Scotiabank Theatre, as per usual, because it's the biggest theatre in the city. And we're about to go see... This is Jake and Jacob.
And I'm Jacob.
And we're about to go see...
Black Panther.
Right about now.
Starring Chad Boswick.
And Michael B. Jordan.
Whoa.
And Lupita Nyong'o.
And Andy Serkis. All right, let's go.
All right, we just finished watching Black Panther.
My son, it is your time.
Show me my respect and bow down.
You get to decide what kind of king you are going to be.
I just want to give a full disclosure first. I am not caught up on any of the Marvel movies. I just don't have interest for some reason. Now that Jacob and I are doing this movie thing, though, I kind of need to catch myself up. So I've really only seen the first couple in the whole thing. I haven't seen Avengers or anything. I haven't seen Iron Man 2 or any of that shit. That being said, this movie kind of stands on its own, I think. There probably is connections that I'm not aware of. But there isn't you know what I mean? There isn't a million other superheroes in this movie. It's just about Black Panther. All right, now getting into the movie, let's talk about what we thought. I'll let you go first.
I'm pretty stoked with this movie. I think the marketing was done really well. I think there wasn't too many trailers released. The hype is considerably pretty big. But this movie is really good. It's fantastic. It's a lot of fun. But the one thing I wasn't expecting from this movie, from Black Panther, was overall just how deep it ended up being. There is a very huge core message about social and political issues going on.
A lot of subtext.
Yeah, there's a lot of social and political issues going on, and there's this constant... See, the battle isn't really between the villain and Black Panther. It's almost the idea that Wakanda is so in the future of technology and resources.
But they're placed in a third world country, which it's actually an interesting premise. It's Wakanda is because they have vibranium or whatever, right?
Yeah, vibranium,
But it's a hidden city within a third world country. So they have access to all this resources and technology, and they could save people around them, but they choose not to. They keep it a secret. So there's all this pressure, why aren't you helping out when you should be helping out your own people, stuff like this. And so that's where a lot of the subtext comes in naturally as well. But... yeah.
And I really liked it because there's a lot of things with the villain Michael B. Jordan plays, Killmonger, where he's just where he basically says well, Wakanda is in Africa, and he's look at he's basically saying black people come from Africa, so Wakanda, why aren't you helping all your people, just a select few people? And there is that almost kind of which side do you belong on? Because when you're watching it, obviously you're against the villain, but he makes some good points that this technology and resources, which is shown many times medically too, can help many people in the third world part and across the whole world. Obviously, Michael G. Jordan's character, he wants it to use it obviously for military and wrong reasons, but there is a very obviously exploit on how it can be used cleverly and to save the world. But Wakanda is stuck in this old traditional times. I really like this message because you don't see it in any Marvel or any movie in the superhero. This movie didn't really feel like a superhero movie. There's times it has the Marvel, jokes, the car chases, and obviously the costume, but it really isn't about that. This movie is about, the traditions of Wakanda, becoming a king, everything kind of even though certain things happen in the movie, there are things they have to follow as Wakandians or whatever they want to be. I guess Wakanda
they're staying
people.
loyal to the throne, basically.
And that's the part I really like that. And this movie also, Ryan, I think his last name is Coogler. He directed Creed as well. He does a brilliant job at making Wakanda feel like a real living place. It's its own character and these tribes that are very separate that come together. He made them through costume, through dialect, through a lot of things, made them feel very their own. So just that alone, this movie is so many good things I can say about it. And I think this is a movie that's going to inspire a lot of a new generation of people into superhero movies. It really did, there's with Marvel movies, as I haven't really been watching, Marvel movies, superhero movies are kind of hitting this like, you know, boring slate. We're just like more and more and more of so many of these movies. This movie almost kind of, not almost restarts it, but just kind of gives a new life that there can be told in a different way. And I think this movie is going to stand out for a very long time for Marvel movies. For downsides, there's some scenes that, like, maybe the CGI isn't perfect, and there's some fight scenes at the beginning, at the end, that the lighting seemed a little dark. It could have been the theater, but there's, especially at the beginning, there is a scene where they're outside, and they're doing, like, saving the hostages. It is dark. I can barely even see anything going on.
The projector, though.
I don't know if it's a projector. That scene alone seemed like a scene that would be hard to fix even later on Blu-ray. It's very dark. But like I said, there isn't a lot of problems. Maybe you could complain on time and length. Maybe you could complain about other little things. But for me, it wasn't just a fun movie. This was a movie that I think pulled some strings in my brain, just made me think about a lot of the things going on. I think it was told really well. I think the pacing was well done, going from action to storytelling in the most proper way. I actually even really like the side characters. I think Chad Boswick as Black Panther was interesting, but I think his sister, I think the Royal Guards, I think everything going on in Wakanda was more interesting than Black Panther himself. There's a lot good to say. What do you want to say about it?
I feel like you've talked a lot about like the messaging and like the world that Black Panther builds, and maybe so much a little bit of characters too. But like I'm thinking of like now the movie itself, just like, okay, I'm going in to see a superhero movie. This is what I'm expecting. I'll tell you what's fresh about it, obviously, is the world itself. You know, it's not typical you see superhero movies take place in Africa or like any kind of similar environments like that. Although that being said, there was a part where they went to South Korea, which for me, I actually thought that was the most exciting part. So maybe I'm just like stale and boring.
That's the most Marvel part. That South Korea part is the most Marvel superhero part. I think it needs that to remind you this is a superhero movie. Here's cool costumes and gadgets. Well, a little James Bondy at times for me too.
Yeah, like going to the casino and stuff. It would have been cool to see like a little more like globetrotting, I guess, but it makes sense for this is Black Panther's story to take place like in his world. I thought the movie was good. I thought like the villains were good. I thought Andy Serkis was actually a pretty good villain. You told me he's in the other movies. Yeah, I didn't know that.
He's in prior movies. Age of Ultron. I like I said, I think hopefully this movie, and this is what my big question to you is, does this movie make you want to watch other Marvel movies now? Especially because one of the biggest movies we're going to review this year is Infinity War, and you're going to have to do some research there, bud.
Yeah, I'm going to need to watch at least like 15 movies before that movie comes out. I don't know if this makes me want to watch more movies, probably because it is so less connected to it, I guess. It doesn't like when I watch Spider-Man Homecoming, there's like obvious connections there. I'm like, oh, I guess I have to watch all these. Almost like begrudgingly, I guess. But no, but like the movie itself, Black Panther, I thought it was good. I personally nothing about the movie itself really jumped out at me like, oh, this is great, this is like super fun, but it wasn't like boring either. Like I was like into it from beginning to end. I don't know if it does anything groundbreaking outside of like again, outside of the subtext, outside of the messaging. I don't think it does anything groundbreaking in terms of like the film itself. In my opinion, I can't think of any scenes like the whole ritual challenger scene was cool. I was getting like real like gladiator vibes from that. I also like how there's like, so not in Wakanda, I don't know if it's in Wakanda or in like in the surrounding area, but there's like a separate tribe that is like totally separate from like everything else going on.
The fifth tribe.
Yeah, and like
Gorilla tribe.
And then I just love when like how those kind of like when in movies when there's like a separate or like a third party and like they come into play somehow and they just like they're their own thing. They're like the renegades. But yeah. I don't really have much else to say about the movie. I have my score in mind of what I want to give it.
I think this movie is going to be one of those movies that people are going to want to watch the special features for. How they came up with the dialogue, the clothing, all the like. I think it's pretty cool to see all the research went behind it. But yeah, I think quickly review. I think there's a lot of good things when it comes to messaging, subplot, character design, Wakanda itself. Downside, you might get bored from the length, and maybe some scenes are a little too dark. But for that, I gotta give it an 8.5.
Again, I think it was a good movie. I don't think it did anything to stand out outside of its messaging, and so I don't have a desire to watch it again, but I wasn't disappointed. And to be honest, out of the movies we've been seeing lately, this is probably the best one. So I would give it a 7.5. This has been Jake and Jacob.
And I'm Jacob. Boy. Ah, look at that. You made it to the end of the video.
Hey, now that you're here, you can click on one of our older videos.
We've done some reviews on this and that, and I particularly like this.
I like the one on the left, to be honest.
Oh, well, we always got that thing in the middle. It looks pretty cool. It's one of those subscribe buttons.
Anyways, thanks for making it to the end.
Bye-bye.